All right. Well, my name is Eric Belardo, and I am the executive director and founder of Raices Cyber, one of the nonprofit sponsors for the U.S. Cyber Games. Raices is a foundation created to bring in more Hispanic, Latinos, Latinas, and Latinx into the field of cybersecurity. So we all have city chapters all over the United States, and it's a wonderful organization to bring in more people from the K through 12, collegiate, and working with people to bring them into this wonderful field of cybersecurity.
Now, before we elaborate a little bit on Raices, can you give us a little bit of background about you and your career through cybersecurity?
Well, I'm one of the graybeards. I've been in the field of cybersecurity for 33 years here coming up. So I've been in since, the punch card times. So now, go ahead.
No, go on. Continue.
No, and I've been through a lot of different things. I've done everything from being a security engineer all the way to being a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, and now working with Dell Technologies, working with their building the GRC side of the house, or the governance, risk, and compliance for their new telco business line. So very excited to be with Dell, very excited to be in this industry for so long, and very excited to be here at the kickoff of the U.S. Cyber Games Season 2. So very excited, very excited.
That's right. An amazing Season 1. Season 2 is going to be bigger. It's going to be better. Now, real quick, let's talk about Raices real quick. How did you come up with it? Obviously, there was a need for it. And where do you see Raices going from here? What are the future plans for it?
Well, we're almost to 1 year old for Raices, and August 21st is our anniversary. So we're going to be doing some events on that. But Raices was founded because I saw a lack of representation of Hispanic, Latinos, Latinas, and Latinx in the field of cyber. Last year, there was a Aspen Digital report that came out that said that only 4% of folks in the cybersecurity world self-identified as Hispanic, Latino, and Latina. So we looked at some of the organizations that are out there, and we decided to build this. And within a year, we have thousands of members across the United States. Like I said, 10 city chapters from California to New York and down to Florida, Texas, Arizona. So there's been a need that we've been trying to do to fill that gap, to educate, to train, to support people in the field of cybersecurity.
Well, I got to say, you are doing an amazing job, and we're lucky to have you back with us one more time. And today, I know you were going to be going over the pathways into cyber, and I believe your attendants are about to be here. So I'm going to pass the floor over to you. Take it away, Eric.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Nora. And thank you very much to all of you for being here. It's been a wonderful, wonderful day here. It was a wonderful speech by Jen. Thank you very much for being here. And we're going to have our panel here. We're going to be talking today about a topic that's very hot in the industry right now, which is how to get into the field of cybersecurity. And we have a wonderful panel here that's going to be joining us in a few seconds. But this is very important because we have a very big PR problem in the field of cybersecurity. We hear all the time, I want to learn how to be in cyber, or I want to go into cyber. And I always say that cybersecurity equals like healthcare. So when you hear somebody say, I want to be in healthcare, they don't say that. They say, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to be an EMT. And when we talk about cyber, there's 50 different type of jobs in the field. So today we're going to talk with our distinguished panel here. Let's see who we have. Are we having everybody here? Let's see. There we go. We've got our panel. So again, I'm Eric Belardo, and I'm going to be moderating this panel. And with us today I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, but I'm going to start with Gretchen Bliss.
Thank you so much, Eric. My name is Gretchen Bliss, and I am the cybersecurity director at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. And I'm very excited to be with you here today. I think Cyber Games is amazing and really contributes to the success of the workforce. My background is I worked in the intelligence community and started cybersecurity, which was called information operations in the 1990s. And we developed the first working group in the government to kind of really look at that. And then when I got out of government service, I worked at a community college, and now I'm at the university. So I really see the value of education in making sure our cyber workforce can protect the nation.
Okay, wonderful. And Davina?
Yes, Davina Pruitt-Mantle. I serve as a lead for academic engagement within the NICE program office, National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. So, of course, we are really interested in building the workforce and anything that we can do in that area to try to attract and retain a diverse workforce.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for being here. And Larry.
Hi, yes. First off, thank you for having me. Larry Whiteside Jr., I'm a co-founder and president of an organization called CyberCity. CyberCity is our mission, right, is really to increase representation of women and underrepresented communities in the cyber workforce.
Thank you. And let me take a pause here because Larry, I heard from a little cannery here that you have a very important event in your life today.
Yes, I do. So my middle son, so I'm a father of 5. I've been very blessed to have 5 wonderful, healthy children, but my middle son, Kendall, is getting commissioned today. Or not commissioned, but getting sworn in today at the Naval Academy. So he'll be playing football for the Naval Academy for the next 4 years. And so I'm extremely proud of him. It's a humongous event. He'll be a 4th generation military officer. As my grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman, my uncle was a pilot. I was an officer, and now my son will continue the tradition. And it's interesting because he's inspired my youngest son, who's 8, to also potentially want to go to the Naval Academy as well and become an officer. So I'm excited for what's in the future for him and just my family as a whole. And I'll add to it, he's majoring in cyber operations. So
yes. All right. Well, I won't hold it too much since my son went to the point. So, we're gonna. All right. Well, congratulations to you and the family. That's huge. So congratulations again. And Alan.
Good afternoon and good morning. Hey, Larry, go Navy, Naval Academy class of 84. And one of your son's classmate is one of my students also who's going to major in cyber. So, yeah, so. Nice. So I'm Alan Stubblefield. I am a high school teacher and a cybersecurity coach here at Troy High School in Fullerton, California. I've been coaching cybersecurity since 2010. We saw our after-school program grow enormously to the point where we're now offering a 4-year cybersecurity academic pathway as part of our technology magnet program. We've impacted 2,500 students since 2010. Many of them are either cybersecurity professionals or training to become one. We're finishing up our 3rd of 3 weeks of cyber camps tomorrow. And right now I have 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders in their first cyber camp. So we do K through 12.
And one big thing that he forgot to say is that he coached a team of gamification, cyber, which one is?
Cyber Patriot.
Cyber Patriot. And what did you come in?
We're 3-time national champions. So,
So again,
pretty good.
Wonderful. So thank you very much for this distinguished panel. And as you see, we have a mixture here of academia, government, and nonprofits. So today we're going to start with the problem. What is the problem? Is how do people get in the field of cybersecurity? And as a nonprofit, as something that we do and something that we mentor, we always get this question. how do I get in the field of cybersecurity? And the answers are very varied. Some people say, go to college, get your degree. Other people say, get your certificates or get your training and get in. So let's start with, this is what I see all the time. I get people coming into our Discord, our communities, and saying, I want to go into the field of cybersecurity. And so I'm going to start with this question. What is the first thing that you tell a student that's coming in and asking you, how do I get into cybersecurity? I'm going to start with Davina.
Okay, thanks. So what I would lead off with is there is something for everyone, and there are multiple opportunities, and there are multiple pathways in order to get there. One of the things that I think is important is for the individual to figure out which particular sort of flavor they're interested in. And so I would recommend, going to the NICE workforce framework, and from there seeing what particular, are you more of the technical side? Are you non-technical side? Are you interested in policy or law or computer science or engineering? Or so you have to, you can't just kind of boil the ocean. You have to figure out a little bit of where you're interested in, and then that will help guide. Is that something you can do with certifications? Is it something you can do with CTE, career technical pathways? Is it an associate degree? Is it a 4-year program? So the other sort of part of that is to use another resource, cybersec.org, that allows you to see the job openings that are in a particular area. So for some students who want to maybe stay close to home or want to figure out, even if you're passionate about something, you want to make sure that there's a job for you at the end after you've invested all of this time. So just kind of, seeing what area are you interested in, and then that will help define kind of the pathway that you want to pursue. But also the other piece of that is, what are the job openings in that area? So doing a little bit of background work first, and then I could continue on, but I'll let the other panelists talk a little bit more about that.
So I'm going to take what you just said, and I'm going to go from the K through 12 to the collegiate to the nonprofit. So I'm going to start with Alan then now. So in your pathways in your school in the K through 12, how do you encourage the kids, and how do you tell them how to get into the field?
So the first group that we try to address are the adults in the room: parents, the teachers, the administrators, my superintendent. And as Davina mentioned, cybersec.org really does a great job of showing that there's lots of jobs, they're well paying, and as a nation, we need lots of folks to do this. We offer summer camps to allow students to experience for themselves firsthand a little bit about what cybersecurity is. And then with the goal of, at the end of the couple of days or the week, do I like this or do I not like this? And either answer is okay, because they know firsthand. I mean, we've got, looking at our underrepresented populations, we offer scholarships, we offer discounts to camp. I'm just trying to get them in the door so they can figure out for themselves instead of listening to others. And then once they've taken the camp, they're like, okay, I like that. What's next? Then that's where we have our after school teams for them to get more excited with and whatnot. And we also, our students teach our students. So we've got some great positive young role models for them to look at. And then they hear those kids talking about, well, after school, these are my plans. So, that's how we get students in the door, and then try to set the hook, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's important that, each one teach one and pull them up. And sometimes these kids respond better by having a peer teaching them than,
or knowing that while I'm a 6th or 7th grader and that high schooler, they're old, but knowing that, hearing them say, yeah, when I was in middle school, they didn't have cyber, and, but I started when I was in high school, and wow, so this student has learned something in a couple of years. I can be like them.
Yeah, correct. So now, Gretchen, you get a lot of students that are coming into these programs, and I hear a lot from a lot of collegiate level students, first, second years, and they are like, well, I still don't know what I want to do in cyber. Now they're coming into cyber programs, or they're investigating the cyber programs. How do you take them from entering those fields and giving them some more pathways and giving them some more guidance on that?
Thanks so much, Eric. Yes. And I want to echo what Alan and Davina said, because really the pathways that you guys are building truly, truly, truly are paving the way for us to be successful at the university level, because we have found, and there's lots of studies out there, that people don't discover cyber in their freshman year of college, right? They're in that K-12. And Alan, I'm so excited to hear you're doing, 1st to 3rd grade cyber stuff. That's so exciting. It's so hard to have that conversation at the state level. And so
start at kindergarten.
Kindergarten's even better. Yep. So I really appreciate that, because I feel like that makes our job so much easier and better, and we can diversify. So Eric, we at UCCS, and I know across the CAE system, have really worked at figuring out what types of different programs we can have. We've started with our engineering program, right? We've had it for over 15 years. It's very strong. It's the cornerstone of what we do in cybersecurity. But in the last 3 to 4 years, we've added, we have 6 schools at UCCS, and we have added programs in 5 of those schools in our School of Public Affairs, right? Policy, law, forensics. And we've done that from the freshman level all the way up to the graduate school level. We've added it into letters, arts, and sciences, psychology, sociology, math, physics, those areas that we have in our letters, arts, and sciences. I know some schools divide that a little differently. We also have our School of Business, and we have certificates and degrees in cybersecurity management in those schools. We also want to go into our School of Education. So we're trying to hit those teachers before they get in the classroom, because Alan's probably done this. I know Davina's seen this, where we host those camps for teachers through Gen Cyber, which is a great program if you haven't heard about it. And those teachers come in afraid of it, right? Like they just, to your point, Eric, they didn't have it when they went to school. They didn't get any exposure to it. And so we try in our education program to hit those teachers before they do their semester in the classroom, to say, don't be afraid of it. Here's some things you can do. Here's how you walk the talk. Here's how you can teach. Here's how you can expose those students to it. So we're really excited to give students that diversity. And to Davina's point, it is hard to pick a flavor. And so we have things called freshman courses where they kind of sample what's available. And we're in the process of building one that showcases cyber across all of those schools, so that when the students come in knowing they want something cyber, we're hoping to take that time in that freshman introductory class to get them exposed to that, so that they can then understand what maybe turns them on and where they want to go in cybersecurity.
And a point of personal pride, last Monday, I actually did a speech at one of the Gen Cyber camps. So good one there. Okay, so Larry, at Cyversity, you get people from different walks of life, either coming in from, I want to learn cybersecurity, through college people to kids and all these things. How do you guys kind of funnel them and try to tell them what really is cybersecurity?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's actually a combination of everything everybody said, right? So for us, the first part is awareness, right? So what Alan talked about the parents, the adults in the room, there's got to be some aspect of awareness of what's going on in this field. But when they come to us, our goal is to align their passion to the roles that exist, right? So going to NIST and looking at, here's the breadth of the field, right? We have an assessment mechanism that we allow them to go in and see what skills they do have and where they're passionate. Because if you really think about it, as an adult, every person in the world aspires to find something that they can work on every day that they're passionate about, because then it doesn't feel like work. So our goal is to drive them that way, right? Let's identify your passion and then help you understand how broad this career field is and align your passion to one of these things. Because it's so broad, if you align your passion to it, you'll find something that you'll be able to do and build skills around and it won't feel hard. It won't feel like it's work, even though it might be. You'll spend extra hours, you'll spend extra time to actually learn it because you're that passionate about it. And I use myself as an example. When I came out of, and you had mentioned the reality, right? I think Gretchen mentioned the reality of what the field, what actually that role sort of looks like and feels like. When I came out of college, I thought I wanted to be a programmer, right? 1994, I had a computer science degree, right? And in class, you write these programs, you compile them, and you create this thing. Well, real world programming is not that. Real world programming was participating in a 500 million lines of COBOL sitting at Motorola in an internship. And I was like, this is horrible, right? And so when I came out of college, I realized that's not what I want to do. So for us, we realized that it's a part of not just showing them this and aligning it to a passion, but trying to, through our training partners, give them a snippet of what that job entails on paper and in real life, and then assigning a mentor to them. Right. So to that point of Alan, being able to have someone help guide them through all of it and hold them accountable. Listen, most of the people that come to us are typically collegiates or career transitioners, right? Or someone who's in the career field who wants to level up. And we all, at that stage of your life, everybody's got a life, whether it's family or right, whatever it may be, your daily job that you're already in that you want to transition out of. Those things can bog you down. And so sometimes these other things, these goals, these aspirations slip and fall to the wayside. So for us, having and assigning a mentor to them to help hold them accountable and say, hey, you set these goals, where are you at with this? What can I help you do? To sort of help nudge them along the way, right? And then we're creating that we'll release August 1st, a new mentoring mechanism, which is one-to-many, where now it's not just going to be one-to-one, right? It's going to be, hey, now you'll be able to get into a room with a bunch of other mentees and hear this esteemed, person who mentors all of you that gives you some guidance, right? Here's some things you can do. Here's what you should do. And we're starting to work towards giving them those other skills, right? We don't like to use a term business, soft skills. We like to call them business skills, because that's a part of this industry that's not really talked about a lot. The business skills of cyber. Right? Yes, you might be a penetration tester, but how do you communicate the results that you're finding in a penetration test? If you can't communicate those results to either your customer or your leadership, are you going to be any good at your role? Right? And so
we say 30% is the technical stuff, 70% of a pen test is writing the report.
Right. Right. And how does that, so we go through a lot of those different types of business skills that we feel you need. We also go through resume writing workshops. We go through interview panel preps, because ultimately most of these people, they want a job, right? They're trying to get a job to go to that next level. And we forget, people don't interview every year. People don't interview every month. So interview skills are tough. And no matter what kind of keyboard skills or skills you have related to the role, if you don't interview well, you may never get the job that you're looking for. So we focus on a lot of those skills as well as part of our overall programs.
So thank you very much. Davina, so one of the things that happens in the field is that people don't understand that not all the skills. One of the things that Gretchen, I want to pull up from what she said was that she's doing things in different schools, right? Because not the entire field of cybersecurity is technical. So we've got a lot of soft skills or non-technical skills like social engineering now, which is more on the psychology side of the house. We have things that are project management, et cetera, et cetera. How are you guys at NICE trying to work with the community to say, these are our 50 plus job skills, if you will, or job cores. And these are non-technical. These are slightly technical. These are more technical. And then kind of guide those people too.
Yeah, so there are 52 work roles in the NICE workforce framework. But what is interesting is that one particular person, it's not a one-to-one. So if you're in a large business, you might have a work role that, or you might, your job description, if you will, might take on 2 or 3 different work roles, with some of them maybe more on the technical side, if you will. If you're in a small business, you could end up having like 10 work roles just because you've got to do a lot more work to get the job done. So I think that's one of the things that we really try to emphasize is it's not one-on-one, that that a person's job or their job title or is a variety of things. The other piece is to really emphasize that in this particular landscape, it's a team sport. There's not one person or even a handful of people that can do it all. There's just so much. You have to rely on others on your team so that the overall goal at the very end is that you are securing and for businesses making a profit and so forth. So that's one thing. We do try to not only emphasize the NICE framework, but during October, for example, is Cybersecurity Career Awareness Week, third week in October. And during that time, we try to give different snippets. So on our website, we've archived like videos for each of those different work roles. So you can get kind of a taste of someone who says, my work role is more in this particular area. So people get kind of a feeling of, ooh, that might interest me, but also trying to understand the different pathways. So it's not like you have to have a 4-year degree. That's fantastic, but you can also do it by other areas, other means as well, alternative pathways and so forth, as well as we're never going to accomplish, fixing the dilemma of not having enough people in this area if we just assume that we're just starting from X and going to grab them in kindergarten and hopefully a handful of them will enter into the field. We've got to take people that are already in the workforce and try to not really convert them, but maybe attract them to reskill or upskill. And so it's all hands on deck. It's not only just in the K-12, in alternative pathways, in certifications, in community college, all 4-year degrees, but it's also taking people that are in another area, whether it be very closely aligned and you just need a little bit of upskilling, or within maybe your own company. So relying on companies to kind of step up and do some reskilling themselves. Or if it's somebody who says, I've done this for a while, but this sounds like a really good opportunity. Maybe I will go back, do some training. There's lots of stuff online, and try to attract them in. So it's being able to share all of that. That's a big elephant in the room to try to address, that there is something for everyone and multiple ways to do that. But that's what we're trying to do at NICE is work with all of our different partners in academia and industry, the certification providers, all the government agencies, anyone and everyone who has an interest in cybersecurity workforce, and being able to convey that message.
As a hiring manager for many years, I like the convert part. Yeah, convert them over. So Alan, when the kids come and knowing that there are so many jobs and so many things, there's an information overload to some of these folks that are trying to come in. And there's so many jobs and so many different changes to the jobs, and it could be a vulnerability management, but it could be a vulnerability management for OT, IT, or different things. And how do you explain to, call it the K through 12, about the different ways, and how do you avoid that information overload?
So they come in the door and they want to play, they want to compete, and so that's what we focus on. And then as we go back and we take a peek at cyberseek.org, so there's 4 entry-level spots, and that very top one is defending your own network. Like, okay, that's what you've been doing during the competition. That's what this role is. And if you like this, great, then off you go and you can do more. But, then, and they've all heard of pen testing / ethical hacking. And I've had a couple of students literally hired from high school to go do those jobs. So it really comes down to personal interest. And my experience is that they're going to go to a college. It could be a 2-year college or a 4-year college, and that's where they get more of the specialized skills. But for a couple of them, they develop a true passion for something while they're in high school, and they figure it out themselves. We're available to answer questions, but we're not necessarily focusing on the career aspects as much as is developing skills. And then for them, hey, do I like networking? And some are attracted to network, others see it as dark arts, and they're not real sure about that. Others are Windows engineers, and others are Linux engineers. So it really kind of depends on what they like the mouse or the keyboard. So and then again, as they've been with us for several years, some, as Davina mentioned, some have decided this is for them, but others don't. But at least they're smarter about their own safety, and that's why it's important for everybody.
Okay, so now you have the warm handover to the college, Miss Bliss. Now you've got him in your grasp at the collegiate level. How do you avoid that information overload of where do I need to be and what do I need to do to get there?
Thanks. Yeah, that's always something that's very much the conversation, right? And it all depends on where they've come from as well. Because I think some of it is framing the conversation with students, especially when you talk about diversity. I know one of the efforts, and I know Eric, you and I have talked about this, is diversifying that involvement in cybersecurity. To Davina's point, if everybody on the team is electrical engineer, everything's going to look like an electron, right? So we got to make sure that we have all this diversity coming into this conversation about cybersecurity. One of the approaches we have is partnerships, because we've always said the highway in cybersecurity is 40 lanes wide, and everybody, if we produce at 100%, we're still not going to meet the need of the nation. And so we've got to do that collaboration and cooperation. And so finding different approaches for students. One of the big challenges that we've had, to Alan's point, is the competition, right? They want to play, but a lot of the things in college are super, super technical. And so what we've tried to do is find other avenues, other approaches, different competitions, because that's what's wonderful. I give a plug for the National Cyber League, right? That's a place where students can play in the gymnasium, do all kinds of different things in different areas. To Davina's point, find out what area they really maybe like or do really well at, and then focus there and see what opportunities are available to them. And so we do a lot of different things with our cyber approach with the students so that they don't feel overwhelmed. We want to have them, sometimes it's just getting your hands on it and understanding you don't have to know all of it. You can just do this piece and be part of a team, and you can help write all the risk assessments, you can write the reports and the policies, and you're just as valuable as the guy that has his finger on the keyboard trying to look at the code and go through the logs, like Larry said, right? You don't want to sit, some people just looking through logs is not their thing. So if we can find a way to expose those students without saying, here is the square hole you have to fit in. You don't when it comes to this. And so we try and look at that from a much more diverse perspective and have more conversations about careers. I think seeing people, I think even some, can't remember who mentioned it earlier, people that look like you in the industry that are doing different things is, I think, almost more powerful sometimes than getting their hands in and getting dirty, because sometimes that can frustrate students. But if they can see someone that can mentor them and they can partner with and understand, I think we're a lot more successful of carrying those students through the degree into the workforce so they can start protecting the nation and the world.
2 points. So yeah, we were talking on the phone, and I said there were not, in the first 20 years of my career, there were not a lot of people that looked like me. I'm from Puerto Rico, there were not that many. I was usually the only one in the room. And the other point that I wanted to make is that there's other organizations out there that are doing these types of cyber competitions. I want to make a shout out to the Temple University ones that are doing the social engineer and capture the flag, which is an amazing non-technical capture the flag in cybersecurity, that it's attracting people and saying, hey, I can do that. Let me see what other parts of cybersecurity I can do. So there's other things that we have to do. And Larry, what do you think of, how do we avoid that overload when somebody comes to you and says, I want a career transition, where do I go?
Yeah, so there's so many components to this, right? Is we as diversity deal with it on two sides. So from the person standpoint, that information overload is, again, helping them narrow down to their focus. What have you been doing? What is it you think you want to do? What are your skills aligned, right? But the other piece of this is really working with the employer side, right? For us, most people we see get frustrated because they're going out there looking at roles and jobs to which they do not align based on the way the job descriptions are written and the requirements and the prerequisites are documented, right? Oh, we want an entry-level analyst with a CISSP. So an entry-level analyst with 0 to 3 years experience, but a CISSP requires 5. How do those things add up? They don't, right? And so when, or, oh, we want an entry-level analyst with a college degree in this specific technical area. Well, wait, you not only by mentioning a specific technical area are discounting a lot of other collegiates, but by saying college degree, you're automatically discounting a whole slew of underrepresented people who want to potentially get into that role and could be good candidates for that role. So for us as diversity, we've got two sides of the fence that we sort of deal with when it relates to the noise and the whole disconnect between the people who could do these roles and what the roles actually say when they're being posted.
Here's one of my personal favorites that has happened to me. I need 10 years experience in a tool that's been in existence for 3. Okay. And I told the person that was interviewing me, I said, do you want me to call the CEO? Because I know him personally. And they wanted 10 years experience on a tool that they just built. So we have another problem, which is what you said, the hiring managers. And I call that a big problem because they're doing these purple unicorn job descriptions. And that do not align.
The hiring manager, to be clear, the majority of the time, the hiring managers, the problem has been they have stayed hands off. So they're letting HR own a lot of the job description writing. They're letting HR manage a lot of those components. They say, hey, I need somebody that's got these types of skills. And then HR goes out and normalizes what that looks like in the industry for everything else along the pay grade that aligns to the rest of the technology components that they have. So understanding that in cyber, we are paid at a different scale than most of the other technical disciplines that exist, whether it's development, whether it's general IT, whether it's not, right, we have a little bit of a higher pay scale. So when an HR, talent management, whatever you want to call them, recruiting, whatever that section is, and they're going out to create these job descriptions, they're trying to normalize it across the pay scale as a starting factor, they use that as the basis, right? So, okay, it's going to make this amount of money. So in HR and recruiting and talent management, here are the basic requirements that we have to have, right? And because of making this, well, all of these have a degree, so this must have a degree, check. Oh, all of these have this many years of experience, well, this must have this many years experience, check, right? And as the hiring managers, we have sat back for a long time and just waited for them to give us resumes, waiting for them to give us this. And then when we get the 6 to 10 resumes, we're like, okay, but there's never diverse talent or very rarely is. And then what we've said is, oh, we're just going to wait longer until we get some in. That doesn't work. So hiring managers,
we could have a 8-hour panel just on what you just touched there. And that's a major issue.
It is. So hiring managers have got to take more onus in the whole process, number one. They've got to go in and make sure that they are guiding and governing HR. And they've got to, I don't want to say move HR out of the way, but they've got to make sure that they create a relationship with HR where HR is not putting in historical barriers that have existed that they put in other fields because we're unique. And with the talent shortage that we have and with the skills gap that we have, we need to be looking for other sources of people with non-traditional degrees, non-traditional backgrounds coming from non-traditional areas to say, hey, if they've got the passion and they've got the aptitude, maybe they can be a candidate because I can pay them, right? And I can train them. And they're going to do just as good a job, if not a better job, than someone who has a degree and has some of these other things simply because they've got a passion for it.
So I'm going to throw a grenade and I'm going to let you guys pick who's going to talk right now. Okay. We have an issue in the field of cybersecurity where we either convert, train, you see, Davina, I use the convert word. We convert, we train, we get somebody out of college, has a degree, has certs, has experience, and lacks the experience. So we have people that are coming out, trained, passion, knows how to do, and then we give them this artificial barrier of you need 2 to 3 years of experience before I can hire an entry level. So we're training, and we're doing a great job training, and we're hiring entry level, but we're requiring this experience, and there's no way for them to get that experience. So I've got 100 people in my foundation that are saying, I can't get a job because I've got this training, I've got all the certs, I've got my degree, and now they're asking for 3 years experience for this entry level position. How do we solve, or what do we start thinking to solve that experience gap?
I'll take a stab at it, because I think all the people that are on here are a big part of that, because I feel like the stuff that Alan's doing with the competitions is a huge part of how we can document some sort of experience, right? That we use those challenges and those report cards and those scouting reports and all the things the competition give us to show and demonstrate experience. I know that Davina and her coworker, Marion Merritt, have done an outstanding job of working with industry to talk about how the HR problem. Larry, I totally agree with you. I run into this all the time, but and I feel like Marion's taken it to a national level where we're trying to have that conversation with HR. We're trying to have the conversation with the hiring managers, because again, we're all building this plane as we're flying it. So having some compassion and partnership with those folks, it's evolving faster than the policies and procedures can keep up with. And so we really need to establish those connections with industry, with government, to make sure that we're getting the right people, we're going through the right process, and that they're understanding the purple unicorn. Eric, is a perfect analogy. I always say in education, we make purple, we need industry partnership to make the unicorn. And if we can really look at it that way, that it's a partnership, I feel like we can be the most successful in understanding what experience can be when it comes to cybersecurity.
So I'll add something to this, because there's a couple of pieces from my perspective. So one is, to your point, how do we communicate experience, right? So if someone has built a cloud-based platform themselves that they're playing in with Kubernetes and all of the technical security components in it, and they've built that over the last 2 years and been playing with that, that's experience to me. What we haven't done is taught people how to communicate that via the resumes that they give to employers. So we've got some ownership to teach people coming up how to communicate experience via the resume, because the resume of what we were accustomed to when we were, coming into the field has got to be changed and different today, right? So that's one thing. The other piece to that is people in underserved communities and women have got to start getting out of the notion of they can only apply to things to which they align to 100%.
100%.
It's a humongous challenge and hurdle that we have, because our feeling is, because we're the minority in this field, we don't see many people that look like us. We know that the people that we're going to be going up against, when we apply, we feel, right? And there's validity to the feeling that we aren't going to have a chance because we don't meet all of the documented skills requirements or experience or whatever that the job description says. The secondary piece to that is HR, back to HR, and not to bash HR. They're doing the best they can with the resources they have, right? Is they've got to, right? We've got what we call the machine in front of them, right? So we've got these electronic resume, grabbing machines that are going through and looking for the keywords. And if you don't have certain keywords, then it's not going to grab that resume. And it's going to, I call it right stack, left stack. And it's the left stack that gets into the office and gets in front of them, because they may get 1,000 people to apply to this role. So we've got to teach HR how to change that mechanism to ensure that they're putting other keywords in there that will grab these people that may not meet the skills criteria, but meet some of the other. And they've got to have this balance there. But it's the combination of those things through partnership, like Gretchen mentioned, is the only way that can happen, because all of them have to be a component of it.
And I would also quickly add that while you're pursuing this new career or this first career, you need to do more than just classroom. Find those opportunities, paid or unpaid, to gain that experience, whether you're volunteering at your local church, run their network, or things like that, because those are the skills that you get paid more for.
Definitely.
And network. Yes. Relationships matter.
We are going to be wrapping up because I'm getting the crook thing here. So I am going to give you guys one more question very quickly, rapid fire, 10 seconds. Do you need a degree to get into the field of cybersecurity?
No.
No.
Depends.
It never hurts.
It never hurts. Okay.
No.
Right. It doesn't hurt, but do you need one? No.
No. All right. Well, thank you very much to our distinguished panel, Davina, Alan, Larry, Gretchen. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being such a big supporters of the U.S. Cyber Team and everything you do for the field of cybersecurity. Again, thank you very much for being here and to supporting this event.